So this is diaper force majeure. Okay. So talk about an exciting Sunday subject area. Contract law. What could be better than that? What could be more exciting than contract law? And as you know, force majeure is a principle, much like or a doctrine like impossibility and practicability. They are they excuse failure to perform a material obligation under a contract. And I've just been seeing the word, the two words appear over and over again because if you think of it in the context of energy and oil companies and LNG companies that are locked out of the ability to ship their product, right? They're If you have the IRGC promising to fire missiles at your tanker as it passes through the straits, through Hormuz, or anywhere in the Arabian Ocean, anywhere in that area, then that's a problem. And so many of these vessels can't get insured during this time because of the risk. And when the folks that calculate the rates of insuring a vessel for a particular contract or job, you know, Stinger missile that's a that's a pretty severe risk. Not stingers, but also, drones. That's the flavor of the day. No less, no less lethal. I'm going to apologize because the wind just picked up, but I'm going to stay here and kind of weather it out, if you will. So it's illustrative of the Donald Trump effect on our lives more generally, because all we ask for is, in so many, you want to have, if you are an inventor, if you are, if you are a sharp, new AI, cutting edge tech person, right? Of course, you want innovation, and innovation requires some risk taking. Most obvious statement you've heard all day. Steve Jobs didn't get to where he was by playing it safe. And we're learning a little bit more, in the AI world when we're looking at Anthropic and the other OpenAI and the other companies, the risks that they have to take also to turn over their IP essentially to the freaking Pentagon and your boy Pete Hegseth, because he wants to use it in any kind of way for surveillance of American citizens and the autonomous targeting. That was Dario from Anthropic. That was what got him in hot water, which I would assume that there's going to be, uh, if not a graceful exit, then at least an exit from that problem. Because if you're going to enforce that sort of performance on companies you want to work with you, the other companies, although they see a competitive advantage, are going to look a little bit further and say, these guys, referring to Trump and Hegseth and Stephen Miller and the rest, these guys are fucking crazy, right? They care not they care nothing about our company. They care about doing maximum damage, particularly to brown and black people, and couching it, that word for you, JD, in terms of national defense, but it's the wider cruelty campaign, right? Back to, let's go force majeure, right? Downstream effects of not being able to deliver an oil or LNG contract. So you're a manufacturing hub. You are a uh, uh, what are you? You rely on energy, as all of us do, you know. But you're a multi-billion-dollar business, and you have to run your plant that runs on LNG, and you can't get it because there are, don't want to cast aspersions on Iranian men and women, but there are hostile people firing missiles and drones at the tanker, so I can't get my gas. If I can't get that, I can't run my business. So it affects your ability to earn, to perform the contracts that you have. It affects the oil and gas companies' ability to sell their product. Upstream, it affects the folks that do the actual extraction, that then sell it on the open market to the distributors. And then downstream, the company that can't make the widget, the Spacely sprocket, the Cogswell cog, Google that, kids. And that affects other businesses down the line because we don't have them. You weren't able to manufacture the parts we need for the thing. Therefore, our thing, which becomes a part of another thing, can't be made because of force majeure. Now, it doesn't automatically flow downstream absent specific force majeure language in your contract, right? Just because the guy 3 steps behind me in the manufacturing process wasn't able to perform, it doesn't mean that it excuses my obligations. But that's why, lawyers make the money they do, right? They have to anticipate these things and incorporate the appropriate language in the contract without making it so restrictive that nobody wants to do business with you. You can't you can't indemnify, you can't de-risk everything in life. But if you have an unreliable partner, Donald J. Trump is supposed to be your partner as an American businessman or woman. He is supposed to be partnering with you to grow your business and allow you to make more money to feed your kids and do those kind of things that Americans do, people do all over the world. If in fact what he is doing is he is harming your ability to run your business and earn, then he is not a reliable partner. He is the opposite of that. And he is, in fact, the opposite of that now and always has been, because when you add in the corruption element, it's always about his kids first. That's bad news for your kids, second, third, or fourth, right? So the force majeure comes into effect when you can't deny. We talked about this yesterday. A lot of people, well, Trump, he's a businessman, and his unreliability means that they can't anticipate where he's going to go, so that gives him an advantage. Okay, in certain discrete circumstances, yeah, innovation, sure. But what businesses depend on, businesses that have to plan not for 15 minutes from now, extra sauce on my McDonald's hamburger, but businesses that have to plan 5, 10, 20, 30 years into the future, because businesses have to do that in the real world. Then you cannot build a model to predict what your needs, your supply chain risks, everything that goes into running a business. You can't properly model that out if you have an unreliable and unstable partner in the stream, right? And that's what DJT is. And he's turning the entire United States government into that as well. Unpredictability, unpredictability in military conflict. If you go into the ring, if you and I go into the ring together, I want to be a little bit unpredictable, because if I'm completely predictable, then I'm not going to be able to to press an advantage over you. Strategy, whatever. You ask your 5-year-old. That's not, we're not breaking news there. But if you're a business that has thousands of employees that rely on you to provide a stable work environment and growth and that predictability for my entire career, where are we? You know, so where he's harming us instead of helping us. The corruption's on a different scale, and that is just is something we've never dealt with in the United States before. At that, there's been there's been corruption before. I'm not, I wasn't born last night, and there have been problems before, but the scale, there's no comparison, no comparison whatsoever. So force majeure, doctrine of impossibility, impracticability. Impossibility is the circumstances, like the word suggests. They kind of go hand in hand with the force majeure. They're firing rockets, and therefore it's impossible for me to deliver the tanker of oil to you, because I can't. The only path is as straight as Hormuz. Missiles flying, I'm excused legally as a matter of law. So I'm not going to be, I can't be sued. I can't, but I have, that's a defense. Impracticability just is a sort of a step back from impossibility, saying it makes it more difficult. And then you get into a situation where, okay, I could do this, I could deliver like we contracted, but I've got to send the ship around Africa to get it to you, as opposed to going through the straits, the canal, Panama Canal. I have to go all the way around. I have to go by, I've got to bring my ship through by Patagonia, because now Trump, Marco, Pete are in the Caribbean, in Cuba, firing missiles again. So I can't run my ship through the Caribbean anymore. I'm screwed, right? So it it just reinforces the basic, the contract principles that we learn when we're 1Ls. That you're like, this will never happen. That fact pattern is completely ridiculous, sir. Who could ever imagine a leader? Oh, we got Putin too, but who could imagine? Who is it even reasonable that I need to anticipate such outrageous behavior? Well, you know, we're reminded that it can get a little bit weird, and that's because of your president, Donald J. Trump. Yeah. So force majeure. And I was thinking there was a song a decade ago or something that there's a party in my pants and everybody's invited. It's Sunday, so let's make it a little bit more fun. And of course, little less fun is if there's a party in a particular 79-year-old's depends. That's an adult diaper, and everybody's invited. Who will want to come? So, and that's the randomness of force majeure, where we know there's danger there. Dubai opened up their airport again, to do the evacuations to get people quickly home and back to the UK and where they were visiting from when they came on vacation. And then all of a sudden, that statement that was put out by the president of Iran saying that unless we're attacked, we're not firing on our Arab uh, and Muslim brothers anymore. And then we realized that the president wasn't the one with his finger on the button. The larger council is made up of IRGC bigwigs, and they thought that that was a little bit too wimpy a statement to apologize to my brothers in the region. They didn't like that. So they turned around yesterday or early this morning and started firing missiles again to say, sorry, not sorry. So force majeure. And, the lawyers are looking at it and they're like, oh man, this has been really bad, but we're going to be able to get be able to get the oil moving again. And then the missiles start going into the air. Eventually, we know that Iran will run lower on missiles. Unfortunately, as the US and other parties run low on patriots, the which I think this turned out to be will turn out to be more of a psychological warfare move by Putin and Xi when they started saying that, oh no, well, Putin's providing targeting information for the Iranians to kill Americans, and Xi is going to send a whole bunch of missiles to Iran because they have a business relationship. Xi has also some other larger problems that he has to deal with, which is he needs oil. He has a scheduled meeting with Trump, which we don't know if that's going to happen. And there's the whole Taiwan thing. So will Xi decide he wants to sell some missiles to an Iranian government that he doesn't really care that much about? There's no alignment, religious, philosophical, or otherwise, really, with the Iranian regime. I mean, they're a business. He can make money, but he can make money on anywhere he wants in the world because he's the big dog. You know, China's the China is the boss. So, yeah. So that's we'll keep that short. That's force majeure. That's doctrines of impossibility and impracticability. That extra syllable in there just to make it fun on a Sunday. Hope you all are having a great day. I was, this is not tooting horns, right? But of course, I don't have a Truth Social account because for philosophical reasons, why would I want to sign up for his fucking platform, right? So I found, obviously you can get his posts from other sources, other web-based sources that repost the DJT feed. And of course, I was kind of delighted at first blush, that he tweeted or whatever you call a Truth Social about the SAVE Act, right? That was my podcast yesterday. And of course, at whatever, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, it was a little bit early for him. Trump was tweeting about that and saying to John Thune, invoke the nuclear option. I'm not going to sign any legislation, any bills, anything until that's put into place because, as we talked about yesterday, it's a way that they could disenfranchise tens of millions of voters. There's a whole conference committees and aligning the synthesizing or harmonizing the Senate and the House version, and there's a little ways to go. But if Thune, as I posted last night, Thune, I think in 2025 he invoked the nuclear option 3 times. He's not adverse to it, and he's going to be under tremendous pressure from Trump. If it's going to happen in any case, and they're going to push something through, I'd rather they do it, in March, because time to take it to court in time to prepare for the disruption that will be caused by passing that act. In the way that we talked about in the pod yesterday, is everybody knows that, okay, by June 1st, I need to have in my possession, I am a US citizen. I am entitled to vote. I want to vote this asshole and all of his people and every Republican out of office. So, in order to affect that change, I must A, order that certified copy of my birth certificate from whatever county where you were born. One. B, make sure that my passport is valid and will be valid through the election, or renew it, or if I don't have a passport, get one. Again, I feel sick for the people, for all the people. That's that's a lot of money for an administrative document that entitles you to exercise your constitutional right to vote, right? So that's a purposeful roadblock that the Republican Party is putting in your way to keep you away from exercising your right to vote, right? So they're like, okay, there's a whole bunch of people that are not going to pay $165 to get a passport. I wish it wasn't true. As I said, I looked into it to see if there were discounts for low income individuals. Unavailable. There is one kind of delightful workaround, and I haven't I haven't spun it all the way out to a point where I'm going to share something in the feed. I will in the next couple days. There is one of the exceptions that was built into the CARE Act. Maybe this is I don't know what the motivating factor was. I know that it wasn't like goodness, fairness, altruism, but the radical right included a provision that if your religion says that you shouldn't get your picture taken, that you're opposed to having your photograph taken for religious reasons, then you can get a waiver. And what there's an affidavit out there. And, when I'm going to tech check it, find out how it happened, find out how many states it's, and then I'll send in the feed I can make an affidavit like that up in 5 minutes, but I'd rather see examples of states. I know there's one in Ohio, right? And it says that I, Jane Doe, swear, by signing below and including the last four digits of my social security number, that I do not have a valid picture identification that comports with the law for XYZ, and my religious beliefs preclude me from allowing the picture to be taken. So, got to work on it a little, but wouldn't it be fun to say in red states, we get a campaign going that right right before the elections, this is something out of the GOP playbook, that we get 100,000 people to send these affidavits in, maybe from Russians or hire a bunch of people in a country that is philosophically aligned with Donald Trump. Any of the people that attended his event at Doral yesterday morning, any of those cucks. So this affidavit and serves as a waiver on the requirement for picture identification, but still, you're going to need absolutely the certified copy of the birth certificate. So do it now. If you don't have it, if you say, I got that in my safe deposit box at that bank, I've had it, it's been there for 20 years, I'm good. Haven't used it, haven't looked at it, haven't seen it. don't care about it, but it's in my safe deposit box with my with the Rolex I won at the poker game in Miami in 1992, and and pictures of naked pictures of Jeffrey Epstein. Whatever you keep in your safe deposit box, and you say, "Oh, well, I keep all of my, the deed to my home. I keep my personal documents." Da, da, da. Assume that you don't have it because it's like $7, $10. It varies state to state, and lead times, what you need to provide in other documents in order to get the birth certificate. Just do it. If you are a voter, assume in any state in the country, do it because the rush will be on in the last minute, right? So do these things now. Make a little reminder in your calendar. Birth certificate. Look at it. Talk to your husband or wife or other partner. You don't want to bother your husband or wife? Talk to your girlfriend or your boyfriend, whomever, and say, I'm going to get my birth certificate done this week in such a way that it'll be here during the month of March. So I've got that one thing. At the same time, now maybe you need to receive the birth certificate in order to get the passport because you need two forms of valid ID, I suspect, because I don't remember off the top of my head. But I'm going to assume that with a driver's license and a birth certificate, that's sufficient proof of citizenship and perhaps residency, or maybe they require a cable or other utility bill, which sounds almost quaint these days, right? Whatever that is, look at the requirements, anticipate what these absolutely horrible human beings will strip on. The Save Act, it's there. You can read it. You know, and they threw a whole bunch of other kitchen sink things into that maybe won't survive if it goes to a vote in the Senate, and it won't survive reconciliation, and some of it'll get chopped out. But prepare as if that's going to be the law and that the Supreme Court will not step in because they're licking Donald Trump's boots, if not more sensitive actual parts of his anatomy, right? So you need, say, I'm going to have by tax day in my possession or in the mail my passport, my certified copy, not just a copy, because there's two different things on many of the websites, of my birth certificate. And, so that's kind of like a raised, it's like a notary seal where it's raised and displayed in a different color so they can see that it's a certified copy. Right? Get all those things done and you've won a round. You've won a battle, not a war, but you've made a small stand against the fascists, because if you got everything lined up, look at the news from Texas. I was watching that I don't recall. I think it was on maybe on just in the CNN feed, maybe, about the trouble that Texans had in particular areas. I think it was in the DFW Metroplex somewhere, but I don't recall, that they showed up at the polls and all of a sudden their ballots weren't available. And a lawyer rushed into court. The lower court said that you have to keep your polling spaces open for 2 extra hours because you effed these people by changing the rules, which they did on purpose to inconvenience people in a largely black and brown district. And then the Texas Supreme Court came in over the top and said, fuck you, said, no, you cannot extend the voting hours because of the sombrero rule, just making shit up, right? That they just said, no, we don't have to give an explanation. And if you want to challenge our ruling in the Supreme Court, they won't hear it because this is Texas state law and there is no higher power. So, and we waited to the last minute on purpose so we could F with you guys. So buzz off, right? You have to expect that kind of reprehensible behavior because they've proven at every turn that that's what they do. So, any case, lots of fun. Uh, it's only March, right? There'll be more wars, more armed conflicts, more bombing, more evil behavior towards black and brown people for the sake of the cruelty alone, for no other reason. There will be more of all of those things. We want Donald Trump to be done. We want to have control of the Congress so we can start investigations and minimize his impact. That's what we want. But on the other side, they're not laying down. So we have to plan as if Trump is going to serve his full term. We have to build, again, bulwarks against such eventualities. We have to do our part. So, yeah, enjoy your day. Thank you, and we'll catch up with you sometime tomorrow. Thanks very much.